Everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at this 2021 Kia Sorento. This thing is all new for 2021. It's a midsize SUV, but I think before we go any further we should probably clarify how the Sorento fits into the midsize SUV segment, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there. So this is a midsize SUV with 3 rows of seats, but what you're probably thinking is Kia makes another midsize SUV with 3 rows of seats, that being the Telluride. The midsize SUV segment, that's the midsize crossover SUV segment, is really kind of broken up into 2 segments. This is how I look at it. The first and the more familiar segment is that of the 3-row midsize SUV. These are minivan replacements essentially here in 2021. Vehicles like the Honda Pilot, the Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, Toyota Highlander, Ford Explorer, Volkswagen Atlas. You get the picture. And then the other half of the midsize SUV segment are vehicles that are more focused on the front passengers, I guess you could say. They tend to have a little bit more style, maybe a little bit more personality. Those are vehicles like the Honda Passport, the Hyundai Santa Fe, the Ford Edge, Nissan Murano, Jeep Grand Cherokee, Chevrolet Blazer. And I would place the Sorento into that segment, except what's unique about the Sorento is that it has 3 rows of seats. So it's kind of one of the smaller midsize SUVs out there, but it has a 3rd row, which is typically a characteristic reserved for the larger midsize SUVs. So it kind of straddles both places. And in fact, it's really not that small. This thing's about the size of the Hyundai Santa Fe, which is only available as a 2-row. It's still a little bit smaller than the Honda Passport. Passport's pretty gargantuan actually, but it's bigger than the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's significantly bigger than the Lexus RX. That's probably a good basis for comparison. And yeah, it actually kind of hits at the heart of the market. It's probably the perfect size for a lot of people. Anyway though, let's take a tour of the new Sorento here and then take it for a drive. All right, so here it is. I try not to comment too much on design, given that it's really a matter of personal opinion, but I think this thing looks pretty good. The X-Line package sits an inch higher than every other Sorento. It also has slightly different bumpers. No real functionality added in that regard, though. There is a center locking differential button inside, which gives you, again, theoretically a little bit more capability. That'll guarantee that power is sent to both the front and rear wheels, which theoretically should help you off-road. These are 20-inch wheels wrapped in all-season tires. They have a gray finish. Around back here, I like the taillights. They're a blocky design. You'll notice another thing about the X-Line is that it has these raised roof rails. They're a little bit more prominent than the roof rails on other trim levels. I would think that in theory, it would be easier to get different attachments or accessories around these bars because they sit a little bit higher up. Moving around back, I think the back end of this thing looks pretty good. You can see it says Sorento across the bottom of the liftgate. Got your all-wheel drive badge, and then SX Turbo GDI. This is the trim level. This is the engine. Oh, and then one more thing. It does say X-Line right here on the fender, so you know exactly what you're looking at. I had a hard time finding the button for the rear hatch at first. I was feeling around under here. It's not here. It's actually in this little pocket right here. It's right under the E in Sorento. Even had a hard time finding it there. So it's right there. It's that thing. Anyway though, now that we're back here, you can see the 3rd row folds completely flush. I mean, it's completely out of the way right here. Other things before we get to the 3rd row, cup holder, compartment, and then USB-A ports for your 3rd row passengers. It's kind of surprising that in 2021, this all-new vehicle doesn't come with USB-C. But anyway, 12-volt outlet, and then this button allows you to fold the 2nd row seats. Unfortunately though, I have the passenger seat too far back to let it fold completely flat. But anyway, it's really nice to see an electronic release for the 2nd row seats. These 3rd row seats are super easy to deploy. You just grab this strap, pull on it, it sits in place, then you fix the headrest in place there. We'll do that again. Pull on it, headrest in place. Here's how much space you have with the 3rd row in place. And the 3rd row down is pretty easy too, although you kind of need 2 hands. So I'm gonna pull on it and then put my forearm into it. A lot easier if you have 2 hands, but you get it. Still super easy to pull this thing up and put it down. There you go. The simplicity here is really refreshing. I really like the exterior too. It's kind of a muted green. Climbing inside here, let's take a look at the window sticker. So this is a 2021 Sorento X-Line all-wheel drive. That exterior color is Aruba green, although it says that the interior is black, and well, it's not, so I hope we're looking at the right window sticker here. Anyway, this window sticker, at least, is for a Sorento coming in at $44,285 with destination. I'm pretty confident that it's the same as this one here. EPA rates this thing with the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. They rate it at 21 city, 28 highway, and 24 combined. That's competitive. It uses an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic, which is kind of interesting. Most vehicles in this segment just use a regular automatic. All-wheel drive. Like I said, the X-Line has a locking... Where is it? It's in here. Locking center differential. Let's just turn this thing on. So now that it's on, the locking center differential button lights up, and you've got a couple different drive modes here. You got Sport, Smart. This is a really nice button. It's nice that it rotates all the way around. So you've got Comfort, Sport, Smart, and then Eco and Snow modes. Here's a button for the heated steering wheel. Button for the heated seats is up here, just like it is in the Telluride, and you've actually got heated and ventilated seats on both sides. This one is fully loaded, like I said, $44,285. Let's focus on some of the things that are unique to this vehicle, because we've all seen a midsize crossover before. A few of the things that stand out to me, though, these door handles are unique. They're these big, I guess, circular square shapes, and to use them, you grab that. So it's nice to be able to get 3 fingers under there, and then to close the door, you've got that. This is a fake wood. I'd rather see fake wood, honestly, in a vehicle than real wood today. It just really doesn't make sense to use any kind of wood in cars. So this fake wood actually meshes nicely with this basketball orange and black interior here. You got contrast orange stitching on the black leather there. The gauge pod infotainment cluster is interesting. So it uses a single pane design. You're seeing that on a lot of Mercedes these days. You're seeing that on a lot of new Hyundai products as well. But in the Sorento here, the digital gauge cluster sits further back. So on a lot of vehicles, you'd see it flush. A lot of vehicles that use this design, you'd see it flush with this panel, but here it sits back. There you go. I mean, it sits back, about as long as my fingers. Pretty charming design to the infotainment setup. You've got speedometer, tachometer, plenty of information there. And then the infotainment system itself, 10.25-inch diagonal. You've got navigation. Map resolution is pretty good. Actually, this screen is really high resolution. Honestly, it's probably higher resolution than it needs to be given the competition. But it's yet another value add from Kia. Everything is pretty intuitive. You've got all these different soundscapes, I guess we'll call them. So this is a lively forest. You've got calm sea waters, rainy day, open air cafe, which that's an odd one. You're seeing these in a lot of new Hyundai and Kia products. Warm fireplace, if you want to feel like there's a fire raging inside your vehicle. Another interesting design element are these air vents. So I was looking at them earlier and I realized that they all have 2 tiers. So we'll take this one for example. Here's the main vent. Open, close. You can direct the air in different directions as you please, but then beneath it is a supplementary air vent that just moves left to right. There's actually a lot of tension required to move this right here. Definitely feels like pretty good quality, but kind of funny to see 8 air vents, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every air vent has, call it the supplemental or auxiliary air vent underneath it. That's kind of novel. Down here, USB-A, you get 3 ports. I imagine one of them is for the infotainment system, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and then the other 2, I'm guessing it's these, are just for charging. There is a wireless charging pad right here. There we go. So you can fit your phone. Down in there, have it charge. There we go. Somewhat practical. Those tend to take a while, but if you're on a road trip, you can just put your phone there and get a little extra juice. Center console box is pretty simple. Nice storage options though. This little thing fits back in there. And then that's not really a tray, but there is a tray there, and then cup holders, and then you can fit some things ahead of the shifter there as well. I think that about sums up the front seating area. Let's check out the second and third rows. All right, here's our second row. Not a whole lot going on back here, though I will say it's pretty spacious. There is a hump, so still not too bad. Plenty of knee room. Like I said, this thing really isn't smaller than any other midsize SUVs. I'll put it that way. I've seen it referred to as a compact in some reviews, and that's not accurate at all. This is definitely a midsize SUV. Over on the door here, there is a cup holder in the door panel. That's interesting. Door panels themselves, this is a nice material here, the same material that's used up front. Same interesting door handle. Let's see. Oh yeah. Full one-touch power up and down for all 4 windows. That's great to see. A little storage cubby in the door there. There's a pocket on the back of both seats. This is another one of Kia's hallmarks, is that there are USB ports in the backs of the front seats for your second row passengers. Again though, why couldn't that be USB-C? This is a brand new vehicle. Anyway, air vents back here. They do not have supplemental air vents underneath them. There's a 12 volt and another USB-A port down there. Let's check out the third row. Pretty easy to get back there. You just press this button. That releases the second row seat, allows it to slide forward, and then just pull that. A little bit more difficult opening it from the second row than it is from the cargo area, but anyway, be able to slide back here. So one thing that's kind of odd, when you release the second row seat to slide it forward to get into the third row, it resets to a position pretty far up. The only way I've been able to figure out to get this to slide back to where it was is to grab the lever under here. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm missing something. Maybe somebody can tell me if I am. But either way, with the second row seat back in the position it would be in if someone was riding there, I've actually got plenty of room back here. I was surprised. I was assuming that since this is the smaller of Kia's 2 3-row SUVs, that this third row seat was going to be really tight, like the third row seat in some compact SUVs like the Volkswagen Tiguan. There's also the Lexus RX 350L. The third rows in those vehicles are borderline unusable by anybody with legs. But honestly, even in the smaller of Kia's 2 3-row SUVs, I could ride along back here pretty comfortably. I mean, you've got the nice tunnel between the 2 seats for the second row. Yeah, this is ample. This is more than sufficient for hauling 6 grown adults. Surprising, again, given that Kia makes a 3-row crossover that is bigger than this. Anyway, to get out, push the button, slide the seat forward, and you're out. Kind of. There we go. Two other smart features. First of all, if you accidentally were to leave the car running, it will shut off on its own after 30 minutes. That's really smart. So it's impossible for you to forget to turn this thing off, or at least for you to leave it running accidentally for more than 30 minutes. And the other cool thing is this blind spot camera that comes on anytime the turn signal is active. So cameras for a 360-degree camera system, you've already got them in both of the side view mirrors, so when the car is driving, Hyundai and Kia leverage these cameras for an added safety feature. So turn the turn signal on, you get a feed from the right camera in the right gauge pod, and then left, you get a feed from the left camera. So really smart. I'm surprised other automakers aren't leveraging this. It's really just a software thing as far as I can tell. So it's nice to see these features that you're already paying for being used in more ways than one. All around, I have to say, this thing's pretty nice. It's a pretty complete package. I think what I like most about it is just how functional it is. It's not a huge 3-row SUV, but it has a third row that's usable by adults, which I don't know that you'd get that from any other small 3-row vehicle. Stability control is kicking in. Yikes, there's 50. I kind of dropped maybe into a pothole as I was turning right there, and stability control kicked in and held me back until the car was going about 30 miles per hour. That was really weird. That's the first time that's happened. maybe we'll punch it here. Yeah, it was about 55. Not super fast. 281 horsepower, 311 pounds-feet of torque. I have to say, I don't love this dual clutch automatic. I owned a Volkswagen GTI with a dual clutch automatic for about 8 years. It was super fun. I loved the transmission. I had no problem defending it against people who said you should have gotten the manual. Dual clutch automatics are pretty cool when they're tuned correctly. This one's kind of weird though. I'm finding that when you come to a stop and you're starting again, it's a little hesitant. So we'll give that a try here. When you're at, say, a stop sign or a red light and you're taking off again, the vehicle it sputters to the point where it's really annoying. I don't like to use that word, but it is. So you can feel the clutches engaging. You don't get a real smooth start. If I can describe it with my hand here, it's kind of, you would think with how long dual clutch automatics have been on the market that they would have engineered that out by now. But it's frustrating. I don't know how many times it'll do it on this drive here. Yeah, you can feel the clutches engaging. I'm fine with that in a performance application when the dual clutch automatic is replacing a manual transmission. But in a family crossover like this, where every one of its competitors comes with a regular old automatic, I don't know that hesitation is really acceptable, at least to the everyday customer who's considering this vehicle. Let's try it one more time. Well, the start-stop doesn't help. Let's turn that off. All right, so engine's running at 1,000 RPM. Okay, all the way to that point, it kind of chattered. We'll do it again. When it stops chattering, I'll put my hand down. So for the first little bit of that takeoff there, transmission was notable, which I don't think is intentional. It's hard to show it, but I do feel like it's less notable now than it is on certain occasions of driving around town. Other than that, though, this thing's pretty nice. It's pretty well done, I'll put it that way. Color combination's really kind of cool. I'm not a big fan of the whole let's make an all-wheel drive crossover look like it has real off-road capability, because you're just not gonna get that out of this kind of a platform. But I will say the X-Line green color here, I like. These basketball orange seats, I really like. I think combined with the black interior and the simulated plastic wood, it all goes together pretty well. I think Kia is really knocking it out of the park with design these days. Coming up over our speed bumps here, this one will be at 30. Not too much there. This is the big one. Here we'll be going about 25. Ooh, that didn't feel great, honestly. I think it was some interior pieces that rattled around. Suspension felt okay. Not as smooth as in some other vehicles I've tested lately, but nothing too alarming either. Yeah, all around, this thing is really sharp. It feels modern. All of the screens are really high resolution. It's got the technology you want. I can get over the whole USB-C thing, I guess. Still kind of silly that this thing has 8 USB ports. None of them are USB-C. What's with that? That's weird. Backup cameras, fairly high resolution. I think Honda and Acura have the sharpest backup cameras, but Hyundai and Kia are pretty close second. So there's a look at the 2021 Kia Sorento. Like I said, I really like this thing. I think the package is almost perfect. It's a mid-size SUV that isn't huge, but somehow on the inside manages to have enough space for adults to ride in the third row, and it has a reasonably sized cargo area. So I think for some people who don't necessarily want a minivan replacement out of an SUV, rather than just like a mid-size SUV, but still kind of want a third row. I know we're really splitting hairs at this point, but if you want a mid-size SUV that has some character to it, doesn't really feel like a minivan replacement per se, but still has 3 rows of seats. The Sorento is very compelling. One more thing, with Hyundai and Kia, I always forget, you get a 5-year, 60,000 mile basic warranty and a 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. That's significantly better than any of the competitors. Thanks for watching.